For the Europe of Nations and Freedom Group, the floor now goes to Mr. Batten.
Mr. President, we've seen 2.5 years of an elaborate political charade based on an entirely false premise, which is that you can't leave the European Union without a deal. There never was going to be a deal. There never is going to be a deal. We've seen Mrs May and her emissaries go back and forward to Brussels in order to reach a withdrawal agreement that nobody wants. The Remainers don't want it because they don't want to leave. The Leavers don't want it because under it we don't really leave. And what is the purpose of it all, which has now been extended? It is to wear the British people down to the extent where they accept defeat and surrender, and the result of the referendum is overturned. Well, not for the first time, I found myself agreeing with something that Mr Verhofstadt said. He said, how to break the deadlock. In the British Parliament, we need a majority in favour of something. Absolutely right, Mr Verhofstadt. And in 3 days, Mrs May has to come up with a plan B. Well, the good news is there is a plan B, which should have been plan A in the first place, which is to repeal the 1972 European Communities Act, leave the European Union under our law, and then to tell you how we're going to repeal and amend 45 years and tens of thousands of bits of legislation under our priorities and in our timescales. Now, Mrs May should immediately resign and hand over to somebody who can become Prime Minister who actually really does want to leave the European Union. And Parliament, the British Parliament, has the opportunity to redeem itself. If it betrays the result of the referendum, then it will destroy what remaining belief or faith there is in our democratic system, which isn't very high to start with. But they can turn things around if they want to. They can take the initiative. They can stop asking you how we can leave, and they can start telling you how we're going to leave. And I can tell you that the British people will never surrender.